Hello my friends, welcome back to Refit and Sail. My name's George Istid, the Solent Boat Butler. This here is my SJ320 project race boat that I bought a short while ago, and I'm slowly bringing her back up together into a raceable condition. In an earlier video you saw me install some electronics here, so this is part 2 of the electronics update on this boat, where I will be installing a new VHF AIS transponder, splitter, and I need to install something to make some nice music. So I refit and repair boats for a living, mostly Contessa 32s like that one down there because of my long history with them, although I do also have a westerly up the end of the yard which is in for a fairly extensive refit. But I like to also cover my own boats on this channel, and this one has been a fairly extensive refit as it's turned out. So the rig has had a refurb, so it's had new rigging, the mast has been all rewired, it's had the new masthead transducer up there and all new lights. The bottom has been stripped of all the old coatings and that has been recoated with an epoxy barrier, and it's been anti-fouled. The overall look of the boat has been updated with all new vinyl graphics and it's looking very nice. The rudder is currently off. It's about to go back on because I had an issue with the bearings, and there are multiple other jobs that I have done so far and many more that I still want to do. But the key thing for me is I want to get it in the water as soon as possible, and one of the key things I need to meet the racing regs is to have that AIS transponder and a decent DSC VHF. So that is the subject of today's video. I have brought you inside so you can see how far I've got on the electronic stuff so far, as well as having all the instrumentation outside. I've also installed an Orca Core unit here. That is not necessarily going to be its permanent location. I haven't totally decided. And the Orca tablet is going to go in here when it's not in use, and it will be outside when it is in use. I have a very old VHF radio. So this is a non-DSC radio. That means it doesn't have digital selective calling and it doesn't meet racing regs, so that needs to come out and go straight in the bin. I'm thinking about giving it to a museum to see if they would like it. I've also got this thing here, which is an old music system radio. It's a car radio and it has a thing called a compact disc slot. I don't know if you've heard of compact discs. I think they were around at the same time as vinyl and tape players. But that is also going to go in the bin. Now, if this was a new install and I didn't already have the speakers in the boat, I probably wouldn't bother fitting a new radio because I would just use one of those Bluetooth speaker soundbar things. But as I've got speakers already installed in the boat, it's going to be quite easy to swap this out for a modern car radio that has Apple CarPlay. So I've bought a real cheap Chinesian one just to see how I go with that. But let's come on to the VHF because that is the meat of this particular video, and I have one of these from B&G. This is a V60B VHF radio which incorporates an AIS transponder. Now, a lot of VHFs do come with an AIS receiver, but this is a full transponder in here. I was very pleased to receive this under the Christmas tree. Santa obviously thought I'd been a good boy. It's just that weird time at the moment between Christmas and New Year, and I'm just trying to get a few more bits and bobs done on my boat whilst I can, although I have got a stinking cold. So here is the unit itself. It is going to flush fit, hopefully, where the old one was, and that saves me buying 2 boxes because it is an all-in-one kind of unit. Typically on my previous boats I have bought separate VHF radios and separate AIS transponders because I've only wanted to buy one or the other, but in this situation I needed both, so both have been bought as a combined unit. When it comes to VHF and AIS, you need to think about what you're going to be doing for an aerial. So you can use a single masthead antenna at the top of your mast for your VHF and your AIS, or you can use 2 different aerials. So you can have a dedicated AIS aerial and a dedicated VHF aerial. There are pros and cons for both, and in fact on my previous boats I've had a twin aerial system, so I didn't have to use a splitter. But on this boat I have decided to go down the splitter route, and I have from B&G also an NSPL 500 antenna splitter with FM output, which is, I didn't realise that was part of it. But this little black box is going to get mounted up behind here, and that will take the antenna in, and then that one will go out to the VHF, that one will go out to the AIS, and there's a power in there as well. Now, I do think it is worth spending a reasonable amount of money on a powered VHF AIS splitter. There are some cheap ones on the market available, but I have heard anecdotally that they're not particularly good, and you get quite a lot of loss in the splitting of the VHF and AIS frequencies. So I do think it is worth spending a reasonable amount of money on a proper decent splitter from a reputable manufacturer. Right, what else have we got? What else did Santa put in his bulging sack and climb down my mast? On the VHF side of things, one of the things I've always wanted is a cockpit speaker and controller for the fixed VHF, because it saves having to use a handheld VHF if you're calling a marina, or in the worst event that you need to call for help, you are potentially going to be using a handheld with limited range because they're only 5 watts or 6 watts output. And I've always wanted an external microphone and external controller or handset for my fixed VHF. And on this boat, again, because I'm going for a new system from end to end, I have the B&G wireless remote control handset for this VHF. One of the nice things about this handset is that it does have a mount in here, which is a powered mount which charges the handset when it is sitting in there. So that clips in something like that, and you plug this into 12 volts and this thing's then constantly charging. So I've got to decide where I'm going to put this fella here in the cockpit where it won't get caught by ropes and things like that. But that may be for another video. I haven't quite decided yet because I want to buy some rope bags and things like that in the cockpit. I'd quite like to work out the location for everything all in one go. Now, on the radio, this thing is going to go straight in the bin, and I have the finest Chinesium car radio here, which may last 6 months, it may last 6 years, who knows. It was cheap, it was off eBay, and it has become recommended by someone that I know. I quite like Apple CarPlay, I am an Apple user, and this thing just basically has a big screen on the front of it like that, and hopefully I'll just be able to sync my phone to this and play music from Spotify or another streaming service as you wish. So this is going to be going in here. It's a single DIN unit, so it should just be a case of slotting it in, connect it up to power and speakers, and away it will go. What's also nice is this thing has a remote control, which is nice. So if I'm just chilling on the boat, I can control it with this thing here. You just have to take my word for it. There's a remote control in there. Well, the first job is to remove all the old stuff and make it possible for me to get access behind here. This is the antenna for the VHF. I've just sort of stuck it out the hole there so that I know it's all ready to go. So all the cabling for the VHF and the VHF antenna that's up at the top of the mast is all brand new, so I know it is all good, and it should just be a case of putting a plug on the end of there, plumbing that into the splitter, running the cables, and away I go. So let's get cracking on removing all this old junk and put it straight in the bin. Well, there we go. We have removed all the old stuff, and that is all now ready for sticking in the bin. And what's nice is, like all modern manufacturers, B&G provide you with a cutting template. So I'm just going to cut this out with some scissors, and then you can offer up the cutting out template, stick it on with some tape, and just drill the holes that they say to drill, which makes life very much easier. So just poke the old cable in for a minute. That needs to come out still, so I can just make sure that the new hole is going to cover up the old hole and get it roughly straight. and then I can drill the 4 holes, 13mm holes in the corner and some fixing holes, and then I'll use my oscillating saw to cut out the aperture for the VHF. Easy peasy. Right, I think I'm going to have to remove this bloody thing because I'm fed up of catching myself on it. Right, chart plotter bracket removed. Should have done that to start with. I will never learn, but I can now actually get the drill in. Drill the last hole, and then it's just a case. I made a right mess of the template, but all I need to do now is just mark up where I need to cut. So I'm going to run a bit of masking tape down there along the outside edge of the holes that I've just cut, and then I can get in with my oscillating tool with a wood cutting bit and chop out the bit I don't need. Now I can cut out the excess material. Well, before I can finally fit this radio, I need to attach some cables to the back here. So this one here is NMEA out, or in and out I expect, but it's NMEA 0183, so we won't be using that. We will be using an NMEA 2000 connection, so of this chap here, which I have actually just had to go and buy because the radio didn't come with a drop cable, which I was kind of surprised about, but I guess it's an optional thing, connecting it up to the NMEA 2000 network, although I can't see why you wouldn't, really. Right, that is on, so that can now connect up to the network. Then we have two more connections on the back here. So we have 2 cables here that came with the splitter. This one is the antenna in, so we're going to pop this on here. Feels like I've cross-threaded that, have I? No, that is going in. And then this one here, which has a smaller connector on it, this is the AIS antenna in. Now this does have an inbuilt GPS receiver. All AIS transponders have to have their own GPS or source of GPS data. So the antenna on this is a little patch antenna, which should work okay through the deck, but we will have to test that once it's all in to check that it's got a decent view of the satellites zooming overhead. Right, that is all the cables on, and we can now shove this lot in the hole. I haven't yet tidied up the old power cables to the old VHF, but I'll do that when I swap the old for the new, and I will also power the splitter off of the same connection as well. So when you switch on VHF, it's actually switching on VHF, AIS and the splitter. Right, just to make it easier, I'm going to poke them in on that hole and straight back out of this hole, so that I don't have to fish around looking for cables. cable out there as well. There we go. Right, 4 screws. There we go. Now there are 2 little finishing strips that I need to attach onto there. If I root around in the box, hopefully I will find them amongst all the packaging. There they are. So just to cover up the screws, we've got these little plastic doodads. One at the top, one at the bottom. These just clip on. There we go. One. Click, click, click. And one on the bottom as well. There we go. Now I don't have the handset on it yet. That goes on there. I'm going to leave that off just for now. This particular unit, you can attach the handset at the front, or you can also attach it at the back via a long cable if you want to have your handset somewhere else, or the microphone I should say. But we're going to just put it on the front in the normal kind of configuration. Now, before I can do anything more with these, I need to fit the splitter, which is going to go up in there, because there's a nice space where there used to be some connections or connection blocks for the old instrumentation, which has now gone in the bin. So that is the next piece of the puzzle. Right, well, here is our splitter, and it has these kind of like keyhole connections. I'm not sure if keyhole is the correct word, but they're kind of keyhole shaped if you have them that way around. But you know, you put it on and slide it down, and then you tweak up the screws. I've already fitted the screws in here off the camera, so we need to attach a couple of cables. So let's put that one onto VHF radio. And do that up. Put that one onto AIS, because it is the only one that it will fit on, because it has a special connection. It's just a PL292, I think, one of these. Can't remember. And then the antenna, the actual aerial that's up the mast, needs to go into that one. So I need to find the cable. There it is, because I rerouted it. I'm going to put one of these super quick connectors on the end of it. These are solderless connections. I've used them on loads of boats. Saves getting the soldering iron out. And it has just a little pin up the inside of it, which pushes down onto the end of the cable. Now, the thing to remember always, and I can tell you this because I've got it wrong plenty of times, is to remember to put the end bit on first, and then you have a rubber ring that goes on, which I think is a waterproofing ring. Then you have this little plastic thing that goes on the very end. I doubt you can see that, which makes the circumference slightly bigger, but it makes it a nice snug fit into there. You can see there's a pin in there, so we are going to push that down into here. Make sure it's fully in. What I sometimes do is pull it out just to double check the pin has gone right down the centre of the core. It has. And then push it back in again. And then I have to squeeze all these little things closed around it. And normally I use a pair of pliers, but I'll see if I can do it with this. There we go. And roll the black O-ring up, and then we can screw that bit on. There we go, that's my VHF connector on there. I'm going to poke that in the hole, screw it down, and I am going to tidy up this cabling off camera, but that can now go in there, click it down, and it is mounted. Just need to clip all the cables up and kind of out of the way. Splitter is in, apart from its power lead, of course. While I think of it, I need to connect up the Enemy A2000 network, so I'm just going to add this T into the 3 T's that were already at the back here. Again, don't judge me on the tidiness of the cabling, because this is all kind of work in progress and I don't want to make it all super tidy until everything is in. So I've just added one more T onto the network, and then the drop cable goes into the back of there. So that is now done. I'm just going to leave that kind of loosely in the back there now. Here is the power cable that I need to run for the VHF. And here is the power cable for the AIS and VHF antenna splitter. So I'm going to pop these both into the connector for the VHF that was here before. Now you can't really see me doing that, so I'm just going to do it off camera. Well folks, I've just put the battery selector switch to on, and so if I press the VHF button, there should be something happening, and there is, which is good. So there's a whole bunch of setup I need to do in there, but before I do that, let's check the lights are on the splitter, and they are, so that's all good. I'll just let that dangle for a minute. So when you buy a new DSC VHF, you have to set it up with your MMSI number and your call sign, so that will need programming in, but this will also need a degree of setup related to the AIS transponder as well. So it likes to know things like, again, your MMSI and your boat name, but also the location of the GPS that it is using on the boat. So if, for example, you have a 10-metre boat like mine, you might say, well, the GPS location is 3 metres from the stern and 7 metres from the bow, which is roughly what it would be here, I would imagine, and it's on the, close to the port side of the boat, 2 metres from the starboard side. So if you have a very accurate GPS position, it can work out the relationship of how far you are away from the other boats around you very, very accurately. So I'm going to actually get the instructions and read them, just in case it isn't completely obvious, but I imagine USA, EU, I think we'll go probably EU or international region. I don't know. EU? Is UK in here somewhere? It's got France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Spain, United Kingdom. There we go. Enter MMSI. Now I need to go and look that up, because I've registered for a ship's radio license for this boat because it previously didn't have an MMSI number, and it now has one. So I'll go and get that and finish the setup. Right, well, I have just finished the setup on here with the MMSI number, with the call sign, with the GPS location, all the rest of it. I've also plugged in the handset. That's needing a little bracket installed there just to clip it onto, but I'm running out of light and I'm running out of temperature, and I'm starting to feel a little bit unwell, so I'm going to probably call it a day, but I have proved it is working. So if I go into AIS, it is showing a whole bunch of AIS targets on the screen there, which you almost certainly can't see, but the point is it's working. And when I come back tomorrow, my intention is to come back onto the boat with my Orca tablet, because the data from there should now be showing via the Orca Core on my tablet, using the Orca software. So it's going to be good to get that set up and just check that it is all working as it should. Right, good night from me. I'll see you tomorrow. Hello folks, it is now the next day and I am feeling slightly better. I'm slightly less croaky. I have brought up onto the boat my Orca tablet, which is a very nice thing that I have been gifted by the nice people at Orca. Instruments have been on, Orca Core is on, that's now charging. It did a funny little thing on the screen there to show you that it was connected up to the power on the boat. At the moment it's not connected up to the core though for some reason. Not totally sure why that is, but what I wanted to check was that it could see the AIS data. I know the AIS data is on the network because I've had a look at the B&G instruments that are up on deck and it's showing data there, so it's definitely picking up data. I've also been onto one of the many websites online and the boat is showing as being here, which is good. It's not moving. But at the moment I can't get that to connect to that, so I don't know whether I just need to switch it all off and on again. Maybe I'll try that in a second, because I want to see the AIS targets on here. The AIS targets that are currently showing, as you can possibly see, there's one there. If I click on it, oh no, that's given me a location. You might have to take my word for it. There are AIS targets on the screen here, but they are ones that it is getting over the interwebs. So it's currently paired to my phone for data, and so it's pulling down AIS data that it can get online. It's not showing me live data from the network. So let me switch it all off and on again and see if that fixes the problem. Well, I have switched everything on and off again, and it is trying to connect, but it's not currently, so I'm just going to leave it to do its thing for a minute. My plan was to fit the external kind of command mic, the external controller for the VHF today, but it's raining. So the other thing that I can do, which doesn't involve me getting wet, is to fit the, I would say, in-car entertainment, the in-boat entertainment, which is this thing, to see if it's any good. The finest Chinese-made Apple CarPlay car/boat radio, and I'm pretty sure that all I have to do is kind of slot this cage thing in here, having fitted a few radios. These things have little push-out tabs on them for different widths of material when you're installing them. So I'm going to chuck that in there, bend out the tabs probably with a screwdriver, and then this metal cage thing will kind of stay in position. There we go, that's kind of locked in position now, or largely locked in position. And then it's a case of doing some simple wiring to, that's even better now. Can't quite get that in. Let's try that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. There we go, that's pretty secure now. Now it is just a case of shoving this in the hole. Now, which way round do we think? I think that way round. And there are some cables that I need to poke out the hole and connect up to the wiring loom. So I've got a whole bunch of things I need to plumb in. So the interesting thing about this is it also contains, because it is designed for a car, it also has a little camera. It's like a reversing camera, and I'm wondering if there is a potential use for this on the boat. I'm sort of tempted to see if I could mount this outside and do something useful with it. You know, while I'm down here I won't be able to point it at the sails, so I can quickly look on there and check the sails, although quite why you'd want to do that when I could just look out the hatch, I don't know. But you know, this thing's waterproof in theory, one would hope, so it might be worth investigating, or me having a think about that. If you can think of a good use for this camera, let me know in the comments below. Well folks, I've just been fishing behind here to get the connectors out, and I thought they look suspiciously similar to the connectors that came with the new car radio. So I've offered it up and I think they're going to fit straight in. So I'm hoping the pins are kind of like a standard pin arrangement. I would imagine that they are. So I'm just going to plug this thing in. So this is the antenna, so that goes in there. So that's the antenna which is connected into the VHF antenna via the splitter. And this thing goes in here, I think, if I've got it the right way round. And oh, there's some lights on. This might just be the easiest install in the world. As I say on Top Gear. The problem is that if I play music on this, I'm going to get demonetized on my channel. But that's amazing. I've no idea how this works though, because I haven't read the instructions. But there we go, quickest radio install in the world. And it's making noises of a badly tuned in radio station. I'm gonna go and see if it does a search, and there we go, bit of classic something or other. There we go. Not really my cup of tea, that. I'm more into electronic sort of stuff, because I'm not 93, although I am very old. There we go. That's brilliant. Well, look, that's done. If you are enjoying this content, please do remember to give me a thumbs up down below and do subscribe. Subscribing costs you nothing, takes less than a second, and it does make quite a big difference to me in terms of the growth of this channel. I really do appreciate it when you could do both of those things for me. Thank you very much. Well, folks, I'm very pleased to say this is all working as it should. I wanted to make sure that the AIS system was working 100%, so I did that by making sure that this wasn't connected to the internet, so I disconnected it from my phone as a hotspot. I went and switched the AIS transponder on my boat, which is in the marina just here, and then waited a while to check that it would then appear on the AIS network. So I can see my boat is on there, as in my boat down there, and it is now also appeared on the chart on the Orca system as well. So it's all good. It is all working as it should. There is still the handset for the B&G VHF to fit, but it's still kind of spitting with rain outside, and I'm not very keen on getting wet, so I will do that on another day. Welcome back on board. As you can see, my voice is still not quite returned to normal, even though it is a few days since I recorded the rest of this video. I also quite haven't decided where I'm going to fit this mounting bracket for the VHF second station. However, I did take this off and charged it up because it wouldn't switch on because the battery was flat, so I applied 12 volts to that. This thing then lit up and charged up, and apparently it has, I think, an 8-hour battery life, the H60, so hopefully in use it will last a good while. Certainly if I was going out for a day race, it would last as long as I need for that. If it was an overnighter or a longer passage, it would need to go back into the cradle for charging, but we shall see. But the one thing I was going to show you before I close off this video is how to pair it, and I'm doing this for the first time, so we shall see how it goes. I have read some instructions. Oh, this makes me feel a little bit sick when I say that word. While I think of it, I had an issue with connecting this to the Orca Core when I had this up here earlier in the video, and sorry, my brain is still not working because of this cold. I just thought I'd just update you on that. I brought it up today, switched it on, and it just connected absolutely fine, so it worked, no issues at all. So I think that was hopefully just a one-off glitch maybe with the Orca system. It works absolutely perfectly, and it's showing AIS data on there still, and it's doing everything it should do, so absolutely fine with that. If you are interested in Orca, there is a link down in the description of this video where you can go to the Orca website, and it is a personalized link to me, so if you use that, they can track how much traffic they are getting from people looking at my video, which is quite interesting. I don't know if it makes any difference or not, but yeah, Orca's well worth a look. I'm very excited to go and try it out in anger on the water, which hopefully won't be too far away. I've still got the rudder to go back on, I've still got some engine works to do, and then it's splash time. Anyway, without further ado, let's see if we can get this paired. So I'm going to switch it on, and it's doing something. It's saying searching, so I now need to go onto here, press menu, probably down here somewhere there will be a wireless handset. There we go, pair a handset, Yes, please. And then I need to press that. Locating host radio, phase 1. Pairing in progress. There we go. It's working straight away. Handset has paired successfully. Handset has paired successfully. Cool. Okay. There we go. You see, got 16 on there, 16 on there. I guess I can go up through the channels quite happily. So that's all good. And I wonder if I press that, there we go. I can see some AIS data on there as well. Sorry, I realise my face is very close to the camera, but that's because I want to show you what's happening. And I can scroll through the targets. I mean, the little graphic on there showing the location of boats is a bit noddy. I'm not sure that that's that much use. It's far more use to see that graphically on a screen like we've got here on a traditional chart plotter, but I'm pretty pleased with that. I just need to decide exactly where I'm going to mount it. I'm half thinking that I might mount this inside here, so it can be charged up inside, and then it may be that I have some rope bags with different pockets and things like that, and if I can find one which has an appropriate size pocket to slide this in, I could just have it in the cockpit, slid into one of those, and you know, if it needs charging I can bring it down, plug it in for a few hours and then take it back out again, you know, when I need it, or when I think I might need it. So very pleased with that. I'm going to switch this off and I'm going to bring this video to a close. Thank you very, very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And also a very, very, very big thank you to all of you who have donated to Refit and Sale over the last couple of weeks. I haven't thanked you on the video properly, probably, so I really, really appreciate it. It keeps the lights on. Some of you have been very, very generous, so thank you very, very much. There's a link down in the description if you do want to support the show, and it helps pay for all the things that I need to pay for to keep the show on the road, and actually it also helped partially pay for that a little bit as well. So thank you very, very much again from me. Right, there is still works to do on this boat, so do stay tuned, and I will see you next time, hopefully without a cold. Bye for now.